In this video, we're going to be talking about unit vectors. So a unit vector is just the name given to any vector which has a length of 1, right? So a length or a magnitude of 1. And the notation you use to represent such a vector is your regular vector notation with a little hat on top, right? And there's no technical term for that. It's just called a hat. So if you had to pronounce this, if you were describing this vector to someone and you had to name it, you would just say a hat, right? If it was B with a hat, you would say B hat, and that's just how you would describe it. The exception to this is the special vectors I, j, and k, which, if you remember, are the components that we use to describe all our other vectors. So these are also unit vectors, but we don't use a hat for these because they're special vectors, and they're standard vectors that we use to denote a length of 1 along the x, y, and j axes respectively, right? So the I vector would be, it goes 1 unit to the right on the x-axis, and the j vector goes 1 unit up. So we don't need to put the hat on those. We can convert any vector into a unit vector using this formula below. So if we had a vector A and we wanted to convert it into a hat, we would just have to divide the original vector A by the magnitude of A, right? And that makes sense because suppose we have a vector here which has, let's say this is the vector v, and it has a length of, so this is the vector v, and we know that the magnitude of v is 5, right? Let's just say that's the case. Okay, if that length is 5 and we want a vector in the same direction but with a length of 1, all we have to do is divide that by 5, right? So the vector we want is going to be 5 times shorter than this, so let's roughly divide that into 5 equal bits. So that's the vector we want. And it's just a scalar multiplication by 1 over 5, right? So this new vector, v hat, is simply equal to 1 over 5v, right? Simple as that. And if it was any other number, we would just do the same thing. So instead of 5, it could be 6, right? And that would be 1 over 6v. It could be 20, it could be square root of pi, it could be anything. We'll quickly do an example. Okay? So we'll do an example of converting a vector into a unit vector. So for example, if we have the vector q equals 4i, actually I'll do something else just to make the numbers a little bit easier. I'll do 6i plus 8j, right? We've come across this vector before. So to find the unit vector, right, we just divide q by the magnitude of q, right? And what is the magnitude of q? Well, that's just the square root of x squared, so 6 squared, which is 36, plus 8 squared, which is 64, right? That adds to give 100. So when you square root 100, you're going to get 10. So therefore, the magnitude of that is 10. And then we can say that the unit vector is 1 over 10 6i plus 8j. And if you want, you can expand the brackets as well. That's fine, doesn't make a difference, okay? So graphically, what this represents is that we've got a vector of length 10, right? The length of this vector is 10. And so let's say magnitude of q is 10. And the vector we want, which is q hat, that would be something like this. So over there. So it has the same direction, it just has a length of 1, right? So this is q hat.